Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and welcome to Commissioner in a Car. Today is Tuesday. It's June 16th. No, it's Monday, June 16th. Tomorrow is Tuesday, June 17th, and tomorrow is June Village Election Day throughout New York State, and we have one village in New York, the North Syracuse Village, that is holding an election tomorrow. That's what the main content of Commissioner in Car is going to be about, but I wanted to bring you a quick update on how early voting is going for the June 24th primary. Yes, we have multiple things going on at once here at the Onondaga County Board of Elections. So today was day 3 of early voting, and we had 562 check-ins between Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. How does that stand up to past elections? Well, really, we want to look at past similar elections. It's not fair to compare this election to in this local primary where only 53 to 55,000 voters are eligible. It's not fair to look at them. It is compare that to a presidential election or a congressional primary or anything like that. That's not fair, especially when there's 200,000 voters eligible in those primaries. So the best thing is to look at them in comparison to previous primary elections, like local primaries, and we only have 2 of those. That's 2021 and 2023, and 2021 was a mayoral primary. In 2023, we had a citywide primary, plus some scattering of towns, just like we have today. Now, 2021, it wasn't fair. It's not the same. None of these are going to be apples to apples because there's always weird things going on with every election, right? 2021, the June primary was still in the middle of COVID. Vaccines were starting to come out and people were starting to feel better, but there was still a lot of mail-in balloting. Plus, while it was a Democratic primary for mayor, there were still a lot of supporters for current Mayor Ben Walsh, who were not supporting any of the Democrats and didn't bother to come out in the primary. And it was a very low turnout primary. 2023, again, another low turnout primary. But early voting had started to gain a little bit, so we had even more voters for early voting. So in 2021, for the first 3 days, we had 288 early voters. In 2023, we had 359 early voters. And then, as I said, so far, the first 3 days of 2025, we have 562 voters. Those are big increases, right? 95% increase from 2021, a 56.5% increase from 2023. Those are big increases, and that's good to see. That means early voting is growing. That's my little catchphrase. It means that as each election cycle goes, more people are taking advantage of early voting, and that's all you can ask for. Obviously, next week, on next Monday's Commissioner in Car, I'll do a full wrap-up of early voting and a preview of the June 24th primary. So, that's that. Now, let's get to the North Syracuse Village elections. But, a little parable here. So, do you know that the Milky Way, our galaxy that we live in, is going to eventually crash into the Andromeda Galaxy, our closest galaxy that is known to us? It's going to happen in several billion years from now, so you don't have to worry about it tomorrow. But it's a rare event. Well, we have our own type of rare event. This is a horrible segue, but I'm going to take it. Our own rare event happening here in Onondaga County, where a June Village election is happening in the same building on the same day that early voting is happening for the June primary. And why is that? Well, North Syracuse holds June elections. It's the only village in Onondaga County that holds a June election. The only other village that did was Liverpool. They moved their elections from June to November a couple of years ago. So they're holding a June election, and Normally, North Syracuse is one of our 10 early voting sites that we have for the general election, but normally we don't use them for a early voting site for a primary. But we had to use them this year because the town of Cicero Republicans are having a primary. And if we have a primary happening in a town and an early voting center that is located inside of a town, we pretty much, are told that we should be opening those up by New York State. So we did. We opened up North Syracuse. But that means that in the North Syracuse Community Center tomorrow, we will have both a village election happening and an early voting center happening, all in the same room because of bookings that happened for that center, which is very popular. And so we found a way to try to have a consolidated booking and do that. So on one side of the room, the North Syracuse Village election will be happening, and on the other side of the room, the primary will be happening for the June 24th primary, and for anybody, who has a primary throughout Onondaga County, but mostly the Cicero Republicans. So, but it gets a little bit more complicated because North Syracuse, the village of North Syracuse, is not all inside the town of Cicero. It's one of two villages, Baldwinsville and North Syracuse, that straddle town lines in Onondaga County. So, if you're a North Syracuse resident and you want to vote in your village election, tomorrow's the day to do that, noon to 9 p.m. If you're a North Syracuse resident that resides in the Cicero portion of the district and is a Republican, you can also vote early, but that's noon to 8 p.m., okay? So we're only open noon to 8 for early voting, but the village election is open noon to 9. Is this confusing? Yes, it is. But that's what I'm saying. It's a rare thing where these things collide and everything's happening together. It's one of the reasons, by the way, that I'm an advocate for moving the June elections and the March village elections to November, because then they can all happen at once. You don't have these weird rules for one, weird rules for the other. But it doesn't stop there. The North Syracuse village election gets even weirder because it is a vote for two for board trustee, but there's only one candidate on the ballot. And that's because they did not have another candidate run for this office, although I understand that there's a write-in candidate. I'm not going to mention the write-in candidate's name because I don't promote candidates either way. I will mention that there is a Democratic candidate. Normally, North Syracuse runs a village election, again, a very weird village. It runs on partisan basis, where you have a Democratic and a Republican candidate. The Republicans decided not to hold a caucus. The Democrats did. They nominated Luann St. Germain, and Luann St. Germain also went out and walked independent petitions on the Good Neighbors Party. So she'll be the only name that you see on the ballot, but it's a vote for two, which means that there will be a write-in spot as well. And whoever wins the write-in race will be the second board trustee. So no one walked independent petitions besides Luann. Nobody got nominated by a party besides Luann. So it's a weird ballot, and we expect it to be a little confusing. Now, because it's a write-in, it's a write-in, we won't have official results we'll have unofficial results that night, but we won't have clear results because until we inspect the ballots the next day, we won't know who won the write-in contest. So we're going to be doing that the next day. So on our social media pages on Onondaga County Board of Elections, we will have the totals for Luann St. Germain and the total number of write-ins that happened, but we won't know who wrote those in because those have to be inspected by our inspection team in the office using our equipment to categorize the write-ins starting tomorrow. And that's also including absentee ballot totals. We'll be having releasing absentee ballot totals along with the election night results. And there is no early voting for North Syracuse. So this is going to be a little confusing to voters, and we're going to do our best to try to explain it to them. But it's, again, the Milky Way and Andromeda, they are colliding, and that's what's happening here in North Syracuse, in Onondaga County tomorrow, and why I wanted to explain it to you, because it is weird, and why the Board of Elections really had no choice. We run both elections, and they're happening at the same time, and they're happening in the same building and in the same room, but different inspectors, because of the many things that came about because of this, where we had people that were booking the space, we have this weird primary, and everything kind of just melded together to make this situation happen. So, recap. North Syracuse Village election, noon to 9 tomorrow. Early voting, noon to 8. Early voting is in 5 sites, but both early voting and the North Syracuse Village election will be in the North Syracuse Community Room upstairs, and we will have trained staff there ready to assist you with all your questions. If you're a Cicero Republican that happens to reside in the village of North Syracuse, you can vote in both elections. Otherwise, if you're in North Syracuse of any other party, or a Republican that resides in the Clay portion of North Syracuse, you can only vote in the North Syracuse Village election. And of course, if you're, a Syracuse Democrat, of course you can go up there, or some of the other people that are having primaries, but you're not going to be able to vote in the North Syracuse election because you don't live in North Syracuse. So there's that. Lots of weird stuff going on. Early voting continues noon to 8 tomorrow, Tuesday, noon to 8 on Wednesday, 10 to 6 on Friday, 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday. Really good turnout so far, really expanding over the previous years, and that's what you want to see. That doesn't necessarily mean more people are going to vote in this election. We'll have to see how that happens, but it definitely means that more people are going to take part in early voting and take part in that convenience. So that's a good thing as well. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. And make sure that you get out there and vote if you are eligible to vote in the June primary or North Syracuse Village elections. Bye-bye.